Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Reading Between the Headlines. I'm Asaf Nassim. Let's do the thing. Headline number 1. Man City boss Guardiola says Premier League title toughest he's won. Congratulations to Manchester City and Manchester City fans for having won the title for a second season in a row in remarkable fashion. There's so much being said and so much left to say about this title race, as well as what's transpired outside the title race. A variety of narratives being drawn up, drama being conjured up, personal successes and failures, pride in failure, shame in failure, the list goes on. But I think at this point, there's one observable fact about the top 6 that should resonate across the board. It's one that I think emerges at a crucial point in the history of the league. A point at which essentially everybody agrees is the most competitive time in Premier League history. The fact remains that there are 2 teams that have outperformed every single other club all season. And these 2 teams have something in common. It's not that they've both spent a lot, they have. And it's not that they both attack or score a lot, they do. For me, it's that they're both clubs that have committed to a vision. They've committed to a project. They've committed to a leader, i.e. Pep or Klopp, and they've backed that leader unwaveringly for several years now. People might say, well, what about Tottenham? They also fit the bill with those qualifications in mind. And I'd agree. They essentially were up there with Manchester City and Liverpool, and at times they had the opportunity to join the fray at the top and challenge for the title, but they just didn't take it. As I've said before, they just don't have the squad. If their vision was to challenge for the title, then they did not back it financially. They simply couldn't hack the pressure of such a rigorous league without either exceptional luck or acquiring 1 to 3 more high-profile players to bolster their ranks. Not to detract from their season. I mean, it's been a fairly good one, having secured top 4, and now having a pretty decent chance of going on, if they can pull themselves together and maybe get Harry Kane back in the mix, of winning the most coveted club competition in Europe, the Champions League. But back to the point, stability and commitment to a project have clearly been out of fashion for maybe the last decade in the Prem. It hasn't been a clear determining factor, or a determining factor at all really, when it's come to winning the league. And I think with the results of turnstile management, that is, managers going in and out of clubs like revolving doors and winning, nobody could really question the efficacy of the enterprise. It worked. But what it doesn't do is foster the highest level of football that we could possibly enjoy. I think you do that by committing to a specific project or a massive cultural movement / philosophy within the club that anybody with eyes would probably agree a club like Barcelona has done. Despite recent failings, they've been able to churn out exceptional academy players like an assembly line. They've managed to instill a club culture of humility and uniformity like maybe no other club in the world has done, and it seems to be a major reason for their success over the years. In the cases of Klopp or Pep, both of their respective clubs have decided to back their manager, trophy or no trophy. After 3 years of no trophy, Liverpool gave Klopp record-breaking transfer funds to further invest in their project. And you could certainly argue that it hasn't paid off, but I don't think people are doing that in this moment. People are more astounded by what they've achieved than they are pointing fingers at the shortcomings. Of course, they are odds-on favorite to beat Spurs in the Champions League final, but I don't think Jurgen Klopp is going anywhere after that match, win or lose. The magic here is what we've been seeing on the pitch, and I, for one, hope that more clubs, my Blues included, have learned a lesson from this title race. I hope they learn that when you commit to doing something special in the long term, the rewards are twofold. You get results, and you get to create something of true beauty, a true work of art, rather than just a means to an end. To be honest, the way that City and Liverpool are playing, they may not have a choice but to learn that lesson if they hope to challenge for the title in the coming years. Headline number 2. I'm excited to see him. I love him as a player. Christian Pulisic reveals he can't wait to play alongside N'Golo Kante ahead of £58 million move to Chelsea. As an American Chelsea fan, I gotta say I'm actually pretty stoked about the Christian Pulisic signing. His stats may not be fantastic, and he definitely played second fiddle to Jadon Sancho and Rafael Guerreiro at Dortmund, but he's still got 4 goals and 4 assists in just 8 Bundesliga starts. It's also worth noting that he's only 20 years old, so he's got a lot of growth ahead of him. But the most important thing that he has that I think Chelsea needs, besides massive talent, is an extremely humble team-playing attitude. He said it himself in an interview with Chelsea when asked what fans can expect him to bring to the team. He said, "They can expect a really good team guy who's going to give everything, who's going to bring his attacking style to the team, do whatever he can to help the team win games." Sarri has come under fire for publicly criticizing his team's mentality, but I think he's been largely right. And whether or not it was right for him to do so publicly is up for debate, but there have been far too many matches this season that which seemed to be a battle of wills, and Chelsea came up second best. Even against Manchester United at Old Trafford recently, as many of you may remember, Chelsea looked second best when it came to willpower, and they were lucky to get a draw out of it. Pulisic will be a fresh, young, fiery asset for the Blues. He'll contribute hugely in the high press, and while Chelsea fans are sad to see Eden Hazard go, when questioned as to which players he was most excited to play alongside, Pulisic cited N'Golo Kante as a favorite. I am very much looking forward to that high press with those two in the team sheet. And fun fact, I think if I remember correctly, Hudson-Odoi actually said Kante rather than Hazard was the player's player at Chelsea in an interview with Soccer AM. Headline number 3. Former Man City owner Shinawatra in Crystal Palace takeover talks. Just when you thought the league couldn't get any more competitive, it looks like this deal may very well go through, and it could mean another big investment in the Prem. Crystal Palace is already one of those teams that you do not take lightly. You guys all probably remember Pep Guardiola's behind-the-scenes admiration for the team in Amazon's series All or Nothing. While that was a couple seasons ago, they really haven't stopped growing as a club, have they? It helps to have players like Wilfried Zaha, Andros Townsend, Wan-Bissaka, Michy Batshuayi, and I would say very underrated midfield stalwart Luka Milivojevic. But really the project is ever growing, and you can imagine what an influx of ambition and money would do for them. They've ended the season in just 12th place, but the quality on offer is very high, and if they manage to keep Wilfried Zaha, which is a very big if, they may be headed for Wolves territory. Shinawatra is a very wealthy ex-Prime Minister of Thailand with substantial football experience. He's clearly very passionate about the game, having formerly owned Manchester City and managed at top-flight Thai club Chiang Rai United. I, for one, would be full-on amped to see a Crystal Palace side bolstered financially. Could really be something. Headline number 4. Daniel Sturridge. 6 contenders to sign the Liverpool striker and who he might join. So here's a player who's been on the periphery, but whom we've not been talking about a lot lately. Not to come down on him, but I think it's fair to say that Sturridge's case has been a disappointing one. He's been through the ringer, having come up through the academy at Manchester City into the first team, then gone to Chelsea and had some slight success over there, but ultimately landing at Liverpool, where he's failed to live up to the periodic hype. To be fair, he did have one very compelling spell at Liverpool when teamed up with Luis Suarez in 2013-2014. He racked up a whopping 21 goals and 7 assists in 29 league appearances for Liverpool. But it wasn't just the goals or the assists, it was the manner in which he delivered them. Sturridge is truly an exciting player when he's at his very best. Extreme athleticism, immense technical skill, and ankle-breaking dribbling skills make him an exceptional talent. Unfortunately, that description doesn't quite fit his story at this moment, and recent form and heroics by Divock Origi make his future at Anfield ever the more bleak. Maybe if he'd taken his recent opportunities given Firmino's injury, we'd be having an entirely different conversation. But alas, that isn't how it all panned out. So now it looks like he may be looking for a new challenge, and maybe that's a good thing for him. Maybe he needs to go somewhere where he'll get the chance to close out his career with a little more grace and prestige. The article mentions several clubs as potential suitors, including Tottenham, Newcastle, West Ham United, NYCFC, and Rangers. Topping the list, according to Sam May, as most likely to scoop him is Leicester City. I've talked about the new project over at Leicester City, and while the Foxes already have Vardy, Iheanacho, and Shinji Okazaki, it looks like Okazaki is on his way out, so that could leave a little wiggle room for a reunion with former boss Brendan Rodgers. It was under Rodgers at Liverpool that Sturridge saw the most joy on the pitch in his entire career, so I could imagine that playing a role in his decision-making process. Personally, I'd love to see him back at it again, shredding defenders, unleashing that left foot, but it's been some time, and it doesn't look likely to ever happen again at Anfield. Headline number 5. Pocchetino speculation won't distract Spurs. So we're back to this question again. Does Pocchetino see enough at this club to match his ambition? You know, people looking at it from the outside in have to feel that while some things haven't gone quite right at Tottenham, a lot certainly has. People kept saying this player or that player is on the verge of leaving the club. They haven't. Was this the board, or was it Daniel Levy being really savvy and firm? The latter is certainly the narrative. It's certainly a narrative that I've subscribed to. Am I 100% sure about it? No, to be honest, I'm not. I've seen Pocchetino himself say that there were times throughout his tenure that players would come to him, superstar players, I assume, and say, oh, I've got this interest from Club X or Club Y, and I'm going to go. And he would say, you know, I have to respect that. Okay, you got to go, but I'm not the right person for you to talk to. Go talk to the appropriate staff member. Okay, fine. That makes sense. In many cases, he mentioned that it just didn't pan out for them, so they ended up staying. It didn't seem that the club were involved in any sort of exceptional methods of persuasion, but who knows? It's true that when you're building a new £1 billion stadium, you might have a little more difficulty investing in other areas. Maybe the wellspring is ahead of them. Maybe revenues will climb, the brand will grow, and they'll be able to do more in coming seasons. It's up to Pocchetino to assess and decide whether or not that is the true reality, of course. But I think as spectators at this point, it's hard to assume that Pocchetino is in the bag for Spurs. To be honest, if I were Manchester United, I'd be taking a second look. And if I were a Spurs fan, I'd be a little nervous. Thanks for watching another episode of Reading Between the Headlines. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Maybe even share it, and if you'd like to add anything, please comment below. This week, I'd like to shout out a staunch supporter of the show, Archie Wetherill. Archie is a Leicester City fan, so it looks like he's got a lot to look forward to next season, maybe even Daniel Sturridge. From myself and little tiny broken Picard, so tiny, so broken, we hope that you live football and prosper.